The president today announced what he's calling a phase one trade deal with China. It ends months of his confusing remarks about negotiations with the country. Here's a sampling of his comments over the past year. Take a listen.
Our trade deal with China is moving along, and it's moving along nicely, and we're asking for a lot of things, and I have a feeling we'll be successful.
I'm just not ready to make a deal yet. China would like to make a deal. I'm not ready.
The stock market is way up today because of probably the trade deal that we made with China. We made a fantastic deal.
If we make the deal that we want, it'll be a great deal. And if it's not a great deal, I won't make it.
In some ways, I like the idea of waiting till after the election for the China deal. But they want to make a deal now, and we'll see whether or not the deal's going to be right. It's got to be right. We have the China deal, as you know, was just approved a little while ago. And it's, to me, not complicated, but that's what I do. It's a phenomenal deal.
Well, joining us now, Rick Newman. He's a senior columnist for Yahoo Finance. So, Rick, before we get to the deal, I want to get some reaction first. Can you explain how the president's remarks have impacted the markets over the years? And also, what's really been the reaction to this so far?
Yeah, markets have gyrated all year based on expectations of either we're going to get a trade deal sometime soon or disappointment that it looks like it all fell through. And we saw that this week as well. The market this week, basically all the action was yesterday when Trump made a tweet that basically led everybody to think some kind of deal was imminent. He has done this many times before when there has actually been no deal that followed up. But for once, he was right. So we actually got some details today. So the market was up nicely yesterday on expectations of a deal. It's flat today, so I guess maybe markets are a little bit disappointed in what they see. You just ran the tape of Trump saying this is a phenomenal deal. Markets don't think so. Markets think this is a very modest deal and perhaps disappointing based on what expectations were.
I'm curious about the market's reaction and how they might view this as disappointing. What do you think it is that the markets are responding that they don't like with this deal?
Well, there have been a couple of things markets have been hoping for. First, these tariffs that were set to go into effect on December 1st, that Sunday, markets really were hoping that those tariffs did not go into effect. And I think that was the expectation. And that is, in effect, what has happened. But I think markets might have been expecting a bigger rollback of tariffs that are already in place. So Trump, up till today, has already put tariffs on the majority of products imported from China. And he only, this deal that we're hearing about today, it's a very modest rollback of tariffs on just one set of products. So most of the tariffs that Trump has put in place are going to stay there. And by my calculation, the overall tariff burden, the tax that importers here are actually paying, is only going to fall by about 11%. So tariffs are still up on most Chinese imports.
So overall, do we have a sense, have we heard from the Chinese government, are they happy with this deal? Are they happy just to have something on the table, or do they feel like this isn't what they came to the dance for?
Well, I think everybody kind of has the same reaction at this point, which this is better than nothing. I mean, I don't think it really solves much of anything. It's unclear. We don't really know much of the detail yet about what the Chinese are actually going to do. I guess they're going to start pick up purchases of agricultural products. They need soybeans. They need pork from the United States, so they're going to start to buy more of that. Maybe they'll also buy more energy products from the United States. Whether China is actually going to change any of its practices, stop stealing Western technology, stop subsidizing those giant firms, I think that's probably not going to happen, and that's probably what they're withholding for what they're calling a phase two deal. Most of the experts who were weighing in on this today just don't expect much to happen after today in terms of whatever phase two is. It's election year here in the United States. Trump really can't afford any more tariffs, and China has kind of been trying to slow roll this all along.
When you talk about phase two, do we have a sense of when that might take place and what they might be trying to broker in that part of this deal?
Well, Trump said earlier today that phase two negotiations will begin immediately. And then that kind of changed his storyline. He had said before that, maybe I'll wait until after the election to pursue phase two. That assumes, of course, that he would win re-election in November. So he said we're going to start negotiating now. But just the fact that they're going to start negotiating doesn't mean anything. I mean, they've been negotiating for a year and a half, and it took all that time to get to what we got today, which is just a modest rollback of some tariffs. So I don't think much is likely to happen in 2020, but we'll probably keep hearing about it. I mean, mean, Trump loves to talk about it. He loves to say how tough he is on China, how much he wants a deal, and how much the Chinese are basically begging him for a deal.
Bottom line, though, Rick, is this agreement welcome news for consumers and companies, especially as we look ahead of the holidays?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it keeps a bad thing from happening, which is more tariffs going into effect on a lot of consumer products. Those tariffs that were scheduled for Sunday would have basically raised the price of a lot of smartphones, laptops, high-end electronics, things a lot of Americans buy. So Americans are not facing that price increase. But in terms of have we solved the big problems with regard to China on trade, absolutely not.
Rick Newman. Rick, you break it down so well and easy to understand a complicated matter. Thanks so much for
studying this all year.
Longer than all year. It feels like you've been preparing for this your whole career, it sounds like to me. Thanks so much, Rick. I appreciate your time.